All right. Good morning, everyone. Um, Today has been an interesting day. I was getting my stuff together, and it was like, no, you can't go live here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and go live on the page, and then I'll share it to the group. I usually go live about 9:30 every morning. Um, if you could do me a favor and just drop a one if you can hear me. I did not get a chance to test my microphone yet. So if you can hear me, just put a one in the comments. That would be great. All right. So today we're going to talk about the US solar return. And we're going to, let's see here for a second, real quick. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the US solar return. A solar return is basically when you're on your birth chart, you go back to the original exact location of the sun. And sometimes it's on your birthday and sometimes it's not. So this particular go around, it's not on the US's actual birthday. And so let's get started though, but I'll share my screen. I'm going to show you what we're looking at here. Right. Look at this one. Okay. Oh, don't need that. All right. So this is the US birth chart. So this is run July 4th, 1776. It's generally um, uh, accepted that this is the time and location, right? Philadelphia, PA. So this is what we call mundane astrology, where we talk about like doing things on a global scale, on a large level. I don't typically do this kind of stuff. I just thought it would be fun today because it's the 4th of July. And so we'll just make some random speculations about what energies could be present for the US for the next year, but also give you a chance to see what it looks like to dive into an astrology chart when you're working with me. So here's the sun and Cancer in the 8th house. But this is again, this is the original chart. Okay, over here we have, oh no, it's this one. We have today's chart, well, tomorrow's. Okay. So the first thing to note when you're looking at a solar return, well, how you find the solar return is looking at where the sun is, and the sun here is at 13 degrees 19 minutes. And I was able to pull up today's actual chart for this, and it's at 12 degrees. So I had to go forward one day to get to 13 degrees 19 minutes. The first thing that we look at is where's the ascendant, right? And the ascendant is going to be the flavor for the next year. So Virgo is the flavor for the next year for the United States. And what that means is that could mean a lot of things, right? Some of that energy could be we're going to be much more diligent about our healthcare and serving people in their health. It could mean that we'll be a lot more regimented as a population. It could mean that we kind of get some of our stuff together in a sense, clean house. These are all Virgoian themes. But another theme of Virgo is bringing like instant manifestation, like creation of something out of what looks like nothing. And that's kind of that's the backdrop of the year, basically, is being able to do some of those themes. And probably because it's a global, well, a large group, all of those themes will show up in one way or another. So just kind of be aware of that. All right. So the other thing is the sun is in Cancer, of course, but it's in the 11th house. And with that is there's going to be a very public eye, public focus on the United States. And there's going to be some really powerful communication that's going on. You've got Mercury right next to the sun, and in the 11th house, there's going to be a lot of communication surrounding a lot of this being in the public eye, understanding what the tribe is, what you're looking to do, who you're surrounding ourselves with. And this is interesting too, because Pluto in the next year is, we've already done this once, right? We crossed into Aquarius, then it went retrograde back into Capricorn, and then back into Aquarius. And what this has to do with the 11th house is that Aquarius and the 11th house are very similar in their energies. And Aquarius is about serving the entire population, and Pluto is about making massive changes. So we'll be making massive changes when it comes to technology and when it comes to serving the masses. But it's when you work with Pluto, when Pluto's doing things, it's going to be massive transformation, and there's a lot of soul searching. So the sun here in the 11th house is kind of nodding to the fact that it's time to really step into that, right? And the other interesting thing here is that this is happening in the 5th house, which has a similar energy to the sun, which means all of this is going to have some sort of pleasing nature. And we'll find the joy in serving the population, in serving the people and communicating that. You can use that. All right, so then we've got the moon is also in Aquarius, but it's in the 6th house. So the moon in Aquarius, I have trouble with. I think a lot of people do, because it's Aquarius is a very intellectual sign, and it's also like the kind of intelligence where you're like, that person is like scary smart. That person is a genius. But when it comes to the moon deals with emotions and the subconscious. So I imagine that we will be bringing in emotions. It's possible we would bring in emotions out of nowhere, essentially. The subconscious mind will have a massive transformation. And that's actually really supportive of what's going on with Pluto in Aquarius, because if we don't work with our emotions and our mind and the juxtaposition between the two, then whatever technology is coming can't really be understood properly, and we can't use it properly. If we don't integrate the mind and the emotions, then we can't use this new technology that we're going to be receiving in a powerful way to serve everyone. It'll end up being misunderstood, it'll end up being misused, and it'll end up being abused, right? Or it just won't even be in existence, and we could be missing out on something that would make people's lives even greater. And this is kind of echoed by the moon being in the 6th house. The 6th house is very regimented, it's very structured, it's very much about being doing things in the right order, in the right way, propriety, being very proper. And so it kind of speaks to me as if we don't find a way to really dive into understanding our subconscious mind, understanding our emotions, then we really, as a population, won't gain the benefits of whatever transformation Pluto's working on in the next year. And I mean, that's why I do this work, right? Like my whole thing is I want to help people with their integrating their mind and their emotions and really understanding like what gifts do I even have? Um what things do I even have? And so this is a really supportive sign for the moon to be in for the next year, and being able to dive into that. The more we dive into that, the more we're going to be able to really know who we are. All right, so that's the big three: ascendant, the sun, and the moon. I want to just touch on this right here. We have Venus kind of mostly conjunct Mars in the 12th house. Mars in the 12th house, I've heard that it's like this. How do I say this? Being able to fully understand how thin the veil is between our conscious and our subconscious mind can only be resolved by fear, right? So if we are able to resolve our fears, then we can tap into the gifts that are in the subconscious mind. And Mars very acutely shows us how we can do that. And the beautiful thing is Mars is right next to Venus. And having Mars being supported by Venus in this work of clearing out any subconscious fears is wonderful, because it's a marriage of the masculine and feminine when we're talking about diving into the subconscious mind. This is a really great year for diving into the subconscious. And this is all happening in Leo. So it's kind of very about the ego and releasing the wounds that the ego is protecting. It's not about fighting the ego. It's about releasing the original subconscious wounds that the ego is protecting. So that way that person and what we're doing here overall can really shine. What we can do is keep doing this work, right? Because this energy affects all of us, right? No matter who you are, it affects you. And the reason that this is important is it's a backdrop for the energies that are coming on a population scale. A lot of people go, well, I'm not seeing X or Y in my backyard or on the street, so it doesn't exist. Well, it's true, it does exist. If it's like at a population scale, it still exists and you still have a piece of that energy affecting you. And then on the other hand, right, we have a lot of people going, oh, what I see doesn't matter, because what I know is that things are affecting me on a population scale, right? Let's not get too far into that, right? Because if you kind of go, you get like way too far into being afraid of the population level things, then you're not going to live your personal life very authentically. You're going to try to compensate for the population level things that you can't even control. So you've got to have a balance. That's why we have our subconscious mind and our total consciousness to integrate the balance between really being understood, really understanding like what's going on in our lives on a day-to-day basis, and really understanding what's going on in the world and integrating together how that impacts us and how that fits in with our life mission. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly check if there are any questions. All right. So let's look at the next thing here. We have, so it's definitely a big year of diving into the subconscious mind. and doing it in a very intellectually structured way. So that way we can bring out these incredible transforming technologies that will push us into the next thing. All right, so the last thing I want to bring up here is the North Node. And the North Node, look at this, is right, let's see, is it moved into? No, it's right at 0 degrees Taurus. Okay, so this is super interesting to me because Aries, a lot of us who are, if you were born like 1986 to 1987, then you have an Aries North Node. So a lot of people will be having their Aries return in the millennials, right? But this is super interesting to me because on a global scale, we've been working through for about the last 18 months, we've been working through Taurus when it comes to the North Node. And so these are like a year and a half of like, this is what the global population is going to be looking at. And it's been in Taurus for a long time. And the other side of that is Scorpio, right? So you have a North Node, then you also have a South Node. Well, what that kind of represented is secrets coming to light, the unknown coming to truth, and bringing in very real, tangible results from the unknown. Okay. Now we're moving into Aries. We're moving this like cultural focus into Aries. And just before we do that, the US has their solar return, right? So this is really interesting to me because 0 degrees is, well, 0 degrees is usually a level of like pure innocence and pure understanding. With the North Node, it's actually the end of the sign because the North Node always moves backwards. Well, then in that situation, then we're looking at a level of mastery. We have spent all this time in Taurus, like really focusing in on what do these things mean to us? And now the US is like, okay, we have mastered this Taurus piece here. So for the next year, the backdrop is really believing in that mastery, really coming into that light. And it's literally just in the 8th house, which is tricky. It's tricky because this is where massive transformation is. So we're looking at huge transformations in the way that we view things like money and beauty and love and finances. And we're just about to pop into Aries, which is about being a little bit selfish. So yeah, that might be interesting. And there's a lot more to say about this, but I think that is pretty much all the things I wanted to highlight when I had this inspiration to come on here and show you what's going on. So if you enjoyed this, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure I'd go live every day, Monday through Friday, in the last self-care group you'll ever need. So please pop into that page and on Facebook, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching.